fever, something you might, just see as a nuisance, actually held a surprising place in old medical texts.
Yeah, it sounds almost made up,
Right.
doesn't it? Like something from a book of curiosity.
Exactly. But that's exactly where we're going in this deep dive.
It is. We're actually talking about Cimex lectularius. Most people know it as the common bed bug.
The bed bug, right?
Now, I get it. The immediate reaction might be, well, surprise, maybe even a bit of, ugh, really, a bed bug in medicine.
Huh. Yeah, it definitely raises an eyebrow.
But honestly, stick with us here because it really does open up a window into how people once thought about healing. It's quite fascinating.
It really is. And our source for this, well, it's pretty unique. We're looking at excerpts from Cimex Lectularius Homeopathic Materia Medica by Dr. William Boericke.
As presented by MediT.
Right. And this isn't like, a modern textbook at all. It's about exploring how this specific historical text lists the uses and maybe more importantly, the really, really specific symptoms linked to the bedbug in homeopathy.
Exactly. So our mission today really is to unpack these observations by Dr. Boericke. Some are unique, some maybe a bit peculiar, definitely surprising.
Okay.
Because you see, in homeopathy, the idea is that the more specific and unusual a symptom is, the more valuable it becomes for finding the right remedy, the one that perfectly matches the patient's whole experience.
Ah, okay. That explains the level of detail then.
Precisely. That's why we see these descriptions that are so vivid, almost poetic, you could say. They weren't just random details. They were seen as vital diagnostic clues, trying to capture everything the patient felt.
So think of this as your shortcut, maybe, to a really interesting, kind of obscure bit of knowledge.
Yeah.
We're hoping to uncover some, surprising facts, maybe a few aha moments, without it feeling overwhelming. It's really for anyone curious about just how broad medical history can be.
And how people try to measure things that seem almost unmeasurable.
Right. So get ready, because these observations are incredibly detailed. They paint a picture of symptoms that's almost, artistic in how precise it is. Let's dive in.
Okay.
So when Dr. Boericke is describing Cimex lectularius, what's the sort of general picture? What kind of conditions was this actually considered for in this specific homeopathic context?
Well, according to the text, its main use seems to have been for intermittent fever. That was primary.
Okay, fevers.
But beyond that, there's this really striking general symptom complex, a kind of pervasive weariness,
Yeah.
a really profound fatigue, almost like a compulsion, combined with this tendency to want to stretch all the time.
Stretch. Interesting.
But what's really remarkable, I think, is the specificity of the sensations described, like the hamstrings feeling too short.
Wow, too short.
Yeah. It specifically mentions the flexor muscles being most affected and this distinct feeling of like retraction in the arm tendons too. It really paints a picture of a very particular kind of physical discomfort, not just, general aches and pains.
Hamstrings feel too short. I mean, that detail is just astonishing. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Was that something patients actually said, or was Boericke kind of interpreting patterns he saw?
That's a great question. It suggests a level of detailed patient interviewing, maybe, that we don't always picture from that era.
Yeah. Did this kind of meticulous detail carry over into, say, head symptoms? I imagine those descriptions might be particularly vivid too.
Oh, they definitely are. The text talks about violent headaches, specifically headaches that are caused by drinking.
Okay. Triggered by drinking.
Exactly. And then there's a symptom that's, quite emotionally charged. It really underlines that homeopathic focus on the whole person, mind, and body.
Which,
Great rage, vehement at beginning and chilly stage. Would like to tear everything to pieces.
whoa. Okay, that's intense.
It really is. It's not just a physical feeling. It's an entire emotional storm, isn't it? This powerful urge to physically destroy things. It also pinpoints pain specifically under the right frontal bone.
Would like to tear everything to pieces. What an image for a symptom. You can almost picture someone in that state.
Absolutely.
It really shows how they try to categorize the complete human experience, the mental and emotional alongside the physical. It also makes you think about diagnosis again. Were people saying this, or was it the doctor observing and describing?
It's hard to know for sure, but the detail is striking.
Shifting gears just a little bit, did Boericke's observations cover areas like, say, female health issues?
Yes, there's a mention. A very precise description listed. Shooting pain from vagina up towards left ovary.
Again, super specific localization.
Exactly. That's what stands out again and again in these materia medic texts. This attempt to map out every single sensation, pinpoint its exact location and quality.
And since you mentioned earlier it was used for intermittent fevers, were the fevers themselves described with any unique characteristics? Because that's often where homeopathic diagnosis gets really, really granular, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. This is where that meticulous observation really comes into play and why those peculiar symptoms are considered so important.
Right.
So the text notes a general chilliness of the whole body, but then this very strange sensation as of wind blowing on knees.
Wind blowing on the knees. Seriously?
Seriously, imagine trying to explain that feeling to your doctor.
I can't even picture it.
Exactly. It also emphasizes pains in all the joints, again with that feeling as if the tendons were too short, especially noted in the knee joints. And the chill itself was apparently worse when the person was lying down.
Wind blowing on knees.
Yeah.
That's such a bizarrely specific detail. It really demonstrates the effort to capture every tiny nuance of how someone felt.
It does. And speaking of meticulous observation, you brought up thirst patterns earlier and how fascinating they can be in these old texts. How did Boericke describe thirst with these fears? It wasn't just thirsty or not thirsty, I'm just
Definitely not simple, right?
far from it.
Right.
And this really speaks to the level of detail they were looking for, almost like a timeline of symptoms.
Okay, so what did it say?
Right, the text specifies thirst during epirexia. That's the time between fever episodes when there's no fever.
Okay, thirsty then.
But then it notes little thirst during the chilly stage.
Less thirsty when cold.
Still less thirst during the hot stage.
Even less when hot.
And no thirst at all during the sweating stage.
Wow. Okay, that is incredibly precise. Like a minute by minute account of thirst relative to the fever cycle.
Exactly. And just to add another layer of detail, the sweat itself is described. It's noted as being a musty, offensive sweat.
Goodness. From the exact timing of thirst to the smell of the sweat, it seems like literally no detail was too small or unimportant if it helped build this complete symptom picture.
That seems to be the philosophy, yes.
Did the bedbug remedy, according to Boericke, address anything else, like digestive issues maybe?
It did, actually. It's listed for constipation. Specifically, constipation where the feces are described as dry and in small balls and hard.
Okay, specific type of constipation.
Yes. And perhaps surprisingly, it also mentions ulcer of rectum.
Huh.
And then the text wraps up with a note on dosage, mentioning 6th to 200th attenuation, which, for context, means these were incredibly diluted preparations.
Right, that's typical for homeopathy, dilutions ranging from what, 1 part in a million to, well, vastly more dilute than that.
Exactly. That's a hallmark of the system.
So let's try and pull this together. Looking back at Boericke's description of Cimex Lectularius, what does it all mean for us now? We've touched on that pervasive weariness, the stretching, those really striking feelings of short tendons.
Mm-hmm. The violent headaches from drinking.
Right, and that incredibly powerful image, the great rage, wanting to tear everything to pieces.
Don't forget the fever details.
Oh, definitely not. Especially that super detailed thirst pattern. Thirsty between fevers, then less and less thirst during the chill and heat, and none during sweating.
Yeah. So if we connect this to the bigger picture, what this deep dive into Boericke really shows, I think, is just how meticulous the observation and classification of symptoms were in homeopathic practice. It didn't matter how, well, unusual the source material might seem to us today.
A bedbug, yeah.
Right. It's all about the precision of the description, even for things that seem minor, like that musty, offensive sweat, or the feeling of wind blowing on knees.
Those specific details were seen as crucial, weren't they?
Absolutely crucial, because in homeopathy, the idea is the more unique or peculiar a symptom, the more helpful it is for diagnosis, for finding that one specific remedy.
It really underscores the value of exploring these old texts, doesn't it? It's obviously not about saying, hey, let's use bedbugs today.
Well, of course not.
But it's about getting a unique perspective on how people historically approached health, how different eras tried to define and relieve suffering by capturing the absolute entirety of a person's experience.
Well said. It's a powerful reminder, I think, that detailed observation, maybe even knowledge, can come from the most unexpected corners.
Yeah, from a bedbug. Who knew?
Exactly. And that kind of leads us to a final thought, maybe something provocative for you, the listener, to chew on.
Okay.
Considering how deeply these historical texts looked at and categorized every tiny physical and emotional detail, what insights might we gain today if we looked at our own common challenges through such a specific, detailed lens?
Interesting question.
Or, if something seemingly as insignificant as a bedbug could inspire such incredibly detailed medical observations back then, what other overlooked things in our world, in our environment, might actually hold keys to understanding our health in new ways we haven't even considered?
That's definitely something to think about, looking closer at the small things.